Well, here's the fender, both front and rear fender. These are both been clear coated. See, you got a little bit of orange peel right there. Rear fender, this thing was a little bit challenging to paint, man. It has so many little contours and different creases and different stuff that you have to worry about. A little bit of orange peel. If I can go back and wet sand that out. See the other side. We have one fan up top. I know it's sagging, don't worry about it. It ain't going nowhere. I slapped it. It brings air in. And then I have this pushing overspray out. You can see that filter is actually clogged, so it's not doing its job anymore. I'm gonna have to swap that out. That's a 3M filter. But this thing is not perfect. Overspray has gotten on that floor over there, but the majority of it, as you can see, is all here on the floor. Now, I gotta give y'all the full transparency here. This is not my design for this paint booth. I got it from a channel called Build It, Make It. I bought his designs and then I built it in my garage. And while this thing is not perfect, it would help me get this job done. All right, now I'm gonna put this on my stand, hit it with a tack cloth, cut the fans on, let it push the dust around, load my gun up, and we're gonna spray. Now this color, it's called Nardo Grey. Comes on the Audis a lot, the RS7s. It's very close to primer, but it's got like some violet, not violet, it's got some red in it. But this is a ready to spray mix. It's got a slow reducer. That should be enough. Then we're gonna take this is the lid. Actually has a filter in it. I'm shooting with the Black Widow HVLP. Got my regulator shooting at 30 PSI, check this out. 30 PSI, got the water air filter right there, and I'm using a high flow adapter, and I'm using a 2-gallon compressor. Yeah, this is what I have. Let's set this up. All right. I'm gonna clean the Black Widow because I do not use the Black Widow for clear coat. I only use the Harbor Freight Purple Gun for clear. Black Widow for me is for priming and base coating. So I'm about to clean the Black Widow and bring out the Harbor Freight gun. This one dials in a little differently from the Black Widow. 30 PSI is what I'm spraying for clear. That's what a lot of people use. A lot of people don't use 30. That's what I'm using.
We'll fucking spill it.
So this stuff, it's a slow activator. I just need a little bit of this. About right there. Mixing used to be scary, but once you understand the ratios, it's not that bad. Welcome to day number, week 2 of painting these parts. Well, the first time I painted the side pieces outside, but all the main body pieces, the fenders, saddlebag lids and saddlebag and fender, front fairing and gas tank, they're gonna be painted inside this thing. But I just got done doing the saddlebags, the priming, the base coat. I wet sanded the primer 1500, came out smooth, base coat came out smooth, but I did have a little bit of a run in the clear. A little frustrating, but that's because I had to learn that this specific clear coat is supposed to be 2 wet coats, no tack coat. Just spray it on wet is what they want you to do. And if you're gonna buff and polish it, you have to do a 3rd coat. So I had to learn all that. But I mean, I wet sanded 1500 to get all of the runs out. So let me show you that. They've been scuffed up. That's to get Some of the little nibs that did end up in the paint out, they're really hard to see. Like there's one right there. Really hard to see, but this panel is smooth. I'm still gonna have to go over and scuff the whole thing up with 1500, then go back with 2000, maybe even 3000 to get those scratches out. It looks flat and smooth for the most part, right? But you can see something right there. That's just imperfections in the panel. This panel wasn't completely smooth, completely bonded and bondoed and body filled to, you know, fix all of that stuff. So there are some low spots. We don't care about the low spots because, God, this bike was wrecked. But I'm still gonna try to make the paint look as good as I can. Front fender, also, I gotta go over it. It's a few little nibs in there from the clear that bubbled up. I gotta just sand them down. 1500, then go over it with 2000 and, you know, smooth it out. Then the front fairing. I'm working on the saddlebags. This is gonna be an absolute nightmare. So if you remember, this is the saddlebag that this entire piece was not connected to the saddlebag. Like this whole chunk was just gone. And so luckily we had all the pieces, and being that we're, you know, doing all this on a budget, we decided to try to piece it together. So I paid a body shop, I think it was like right at, I think $400 for all of the body panels and pieces to be repaired. And this is what they came up with. They used fiberglass. I'm not gonna lie, it looks like crap inside the saddlebag. This is what it looks like on the inside. That line, I stitched it back together, and then they basically refilled it. They strengthened it with fiberglass. It's like rock freaking solid, just like that plastic. So it's very sturdy. I am gonna have to drill that hole out. It's gonna take a good amount of primer to cover this up. We are missing that chunk right there. I'm not too worried about this, but there's a gasket that goes here and that glue, and you can see right here where I've been kind of getting it off. It's a pain. This is the other saddlebag. We have it prepped. I just need to go over it one more time and clean it. Like, look at this. That's dirt coming off of this panel, and it's gonna mix with that primer, and this is not gonna look good. The primer I'm using is this High Build 1K acrylic. This does not have a hardener in it. I'll be reducing this with acetone. It uses a 1-to-1 mix. Some people use mineral spirits. Some people use actual reducers that come with the paint. This is what the automotive paint store recommended to me to use, so this is what I'm using, and I have been using it. There we go. This is after maybe 3.5 to 4 layers of primer. I stacked it on these because I wasn't sure how this was going to come out. These took extensive damage. Came out pretty good. The back also came out pretty good. This this setup right here is a paint can and a battery, and that's what the saddlebag's sitting on. It's stable, but it's unstable. I actually dropped the saddlebag right there. You can see when it fell off. I was painting this and bumped this and knocked it off. So yeah, not the best. I know some people are gonna say you should hang it. Well, I don't have a way to hang it, so I'm doing what I gotta do. This is the right saddlebag. This is the one that was severely damaged. You can kind of see the body line where it doesn't fully follow right there. But you can see right here where I'm gonna have to wet sand this as well. That primer could not cover that up. So I am gonna wet sand that, and hopefully I can level it out and everything will look fine. What I'm trying to do is just give my base coat a flat surface as much as possible to lay on. So when it's time for me to do my clear coat, it's just a matter of buffing out my clear, because I don't want to have to buff out anything when it comes to that base. That is what an unsanded panel sounds like. If you ever wonder why they say don't sand around your edges, it's because of that right there. I ordered a pint of the Nardo, and I actually just ran out. 1 pint of paint is enough to paint a rear fender, gas tank, front fender, and maybe 2 side pieces. But so far I've painted front fender, rear fender, both saddlebags, and both lids with those saddlebags, and 4 side panels. I do not have enough. I'm gonna have to get probably a half pint more. The front fairing and the gas tank. So I got these upside down. You're not gonna see this, but I wanted to paint the bottom just so if you ever look under the bike, you won't see orange. You can see where it was stitched together right there. And this is the other side. You can see a little bit of a difference. That Nardo is very close to primer, but once I cake it on, you're not gonna be able to tell, you know, the primer anymore.
So far so good. Gotta wait and then we're gonna put another coat on.
This is my clear coat. Once you start spraying, it goes under vacuum. When I was spraying last time, because it's gonna be flipped upside down once I start spraying, I started getting the air bubbles and my gun started spreading a little bit, and that created some dry spray. So from now on, I started pouring a little bit more. This is what I use. 4 is gonna be clear, the 1 is gonna be the activator. But somebody at the shop, when we were trying to figure out what clear I needed, they said this thing is enough to paint 3 motorcycles. But that is assuming, now that I know, if you have a gas tank, a front fender, and a rear fender. If you were just painting gas tanks, you could probably do like maybe 5 gas tanks, maybe even 10 gas tanks with just this one thing of clear. But the fact that I'm painting 15 different parts just for Magnum, this is kind of reduces down to maybe a bike and a half. Now that I mixed it, we're gonna hook it up to, again, the Harbor Freight HVLP gun. I'm gonna shoot at 30 PSI.
Before I shoot this clear, this is what we look like. See how that paint looks so flat? There's no runs. Yeah, you still got the little nibs and, you know, because of the body work. But this is what it looks like. Very flat.
Hello, I don't know what day we're in. I'm gonna be painting the gas tank today. Let me show you this. This gas tank's been through a lot. I blocked off the fuel pump area and the vent lines for the fuel vapor, and I have it upside down because I'm gonna prime the bottom, then I'm gonna flip it over, prime the top, and then I'm going to base the bottom and then flip it over and base the top. After a little bit of wet sanding, I'm gonna have to go back over that little spot. This is before clear, giving it about a solid 30 minutes to dry. And then we're gonna go with some clear, man. And the gas tank, I got 2 rounds of clear. And we are going to be done, man. It looks super smooth from the wet sanding. I'm proud of that. Really proud of that. That looks very flat. I got one more layer of clear coat to do on the gas tank. I'm upset because on the first layer, and I honestly should have stopped, I tried to do a crosshatch, so I'm doing this, and then I tried to go up, but the fan pattern was set in a different direction, and basically I got a, it's bleeding. The clear coat's bleeding. I'm not finna try to stop here, sand it, have to wait for it to dry, come back the next day and do this all over again. No, we're gonna finish this, but I am gonna fix it. This is after about 12 hours since I laid the clear coat. Looks really good. Not perfect. I'm gonna have to go back and do some polishing to get the final finish evenly that I want. There is a lot of orange peel up under here. Again, that's not the place that I expect, you know, eyes to be on anyway, but if I can get down there and polish it, I will. If not, I'm just gonna leave it alone. On this side, it's the same thing. Hear that? Compared to, that's the difference. This right here, I had a bit of a sag. This was on the first layer of clear. I do have a nib or 2 right there from some dust that's got in there. That'll be super easy to get out. But we're actually in the non-diffused light. So when we see it now, you see a little bit of peel around this area right here. That'll be easy to sand out. So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna do a sand and polish. I am not able to lay clear perfectly at this point in time, but I do have a good base to work off of. The sides look a lot better. But yeah, we're gonna work on this and we're gonna make it look better. This is the front fairing. So this front fairing did not look like this. We paid $400 for this and it was cracked in various places. I found a body shop that had a guy that does some work on the side. Took it to him, paid him $100. He basically filled in and repaired the cracks using something called panel bond by 3M. That was beyond my skill level. I'm going to paint the inside of this, just the edges, because once this thing's mounted on the bike, you're not gonna see any of this. So I pulled out the strip. There's a decal strip that goes here. I'm hoping that my high build primer is able to cover most of this up. It is feathered in, but you can still kind of feel a little bit of a catch. Here's where one of those major cracks were. That's been repaired. I think there was one right here too. And I think there was one right in here somewhere. I can actually feel it. So all of that has been repaired, man. And also that side has been, you know, I took the decal out. And also this is where he repaired some cracks as well. All right, y'all, I gotta show y'all this because I'm actually feeling pretty freaking proud. So you guys remember what this thing looked like before I started? It looks pretty freaking smooth. I am actually really excited. Really excited out of all the things I've done so far. Really excited for this because I was worried. I mean, you've seen this. You saw how this looked. I was really worried that this thing was not going to look decent with everything that was done to it. I have sprayed the back already, but I'm still going to have to go back and wet sand little components like that just to get it out. But it's looking good so far. Hear that? That's the dryness of the primer. So what I'm doing now, I have some 1000 grit. And I'm just trying to wet sand this somewhat smooth. A little bit of a problem. This is the closeout piece that I do have. Came out perfect. This is the fairing. Came out perfect. I have one spot right here that decided to wrinkle. I'm gonna see if I can take maybe some 1500 and just lightly sand this. Here's what I did. I took 1500 grit sandpaper and I lightly went over it. Now I know you can still see it, but what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna take my paint gun and lightly dust something on, a few coats on here. Yes, that is a wrinkle, but it is not a wrinkle, I believe, because of solvent. That is where one of the major cracks in this fairing used to be. With the Bondo that was used, the primer that was put on there, and then what I put on there and sanded it down, I might have went a little too far. I ran out of paint. So this is the final result for the fairing. It's really hard to see. Like the naked eye, you can see it a lot better versus on camera. It's right there. I'm satisfied with this, man. And my family member, owner of the bike, he's satisfied with it. I had to ask the people at the automotive paint store how to pour this clear coat out of this thing because I kept spilling. I probably spilled 20% of this. So much easier to pour this stuff. I spilled so much of this, guys. I did spill a little bit, but nothing on my paper. So that is how you pour that stuff. Like I said, I had to learn from somebody at the automotive store. They helped me immensely on that, and now I can put this up. My slow activator, this is a 4-to-1 mix. Good old faithful right here. Looks good, looks good. That spot, you can see it, a little bit hard to see, so I'm actually happy with that. So we're gonna wait. Probably give this about another 5 to 10 minutes. Throw on the second coat. It's gonna be a heavier coat and hopefully I don't get no runs, but you can see a little bit of peel right there because I didn't get as good in there. It's kind of hard to get in there, but we're gonna get it. Right now it's proving exactly why I did not want to paint out here at this current time. Not only because of the heat, but because there's a storm coming, which would have messed everything up. So I felt like I made the right choice, even though this paint booth isn't perfect. It's been 2 days since I painted the closeout piece for the saddlebag and also the front fairing. That one little spot that I was worried about. Yeah, it's almost not even noticeable. But let me show you the difference. This is diffused right now. So when I walk out, it's a whole different gray compared to in here. It's a lot brighter. So that's where I'm gonna have to cut and buff that because I want the finish to look more like that. I want clear beams of light, and I'm gonna get that with a cut and buff. Every part that is going back on this bike in my possession right now has been painted. Those fans were not the correct fans for this. They weren't explosion proof fans, but for me they worked. Your mileage may vary. 2-gallon compressor, it worked for me. Your mileage may vary. Harbor Freight guns, the same thing. I still need some work laying down the clear coat, but all of this is my first time doing it, and I'm pretty pleased with the results. So next up, I think we're either gonna put the parts on the Magnum or we're gonna polish the Magnum to get that finish that I'm looking for. But this bike is starting to look like a bike again. We're so close to getting it where it needs to be, especially considering where we started when we first got this thing over a year ago. It took some time, but we're getting there. As always, thanks for listening, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. This will not be my last time painting, but this is gonna have to evolve a little bit because I got a lot of paint spray, over spray and stuff I got to clean up. Anyway, the next video for Magnum is gonna show up here at some point when it's ready. But yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.